welcome to the live stream and what is going on, because we've had some chaos this morning when it comes to the crypto and markets in general, and I will go ahead and break that down for you guys. So welcome to the live stream. This is Josh, Rager Crypto, and we're going to go ahead and talk about the big news, the big shock for today, because everybody is surprised what's going on when it comes to the Fed rate cuts and when it comes to the job market, because we've got some big weeks coming up the next 2 weeks, so you need to buckle up. So let's go ahead, break that down. Everybody, welcome. We did have a Bitcoin giveaway on the live stream yesterday. I actually had 2 winners because I just wanted to have 2 winners. That Bitcoin will go out here before the weekend goes to you guys, so congratulations. But just know that we'll have more Bitcoin giveaways, whether it be on live streams or whether or not I have videos for you to watch and just for you to comment below, and then I randomly pick a comment that somebody wins. So those are a couple of different ways that we can do that, but just know that we'll have more of those when it comes down. And so greatly appreciate you. I know each and every one of you are watching this, and I see you guys. And so if I could just say thank you for watching, and I love the support, I would, to each and one of your comments. So let's go ahead, check out the charts, because we have a lot going on. So with Bitcoin, my charts aren't working. Here we go. So with Bitcoin, you just got to know that it's up around 1% today. But it's the thing about it is that we had a nice pump earlier and then a pullback. We'll take a look at that. But most things are relatively flat right now. And it's not for the sake of just going sideways. There's a lot of volatility. And the purpose of the volatility, or not the purpose, the reason behind the volatility is this chart, which is really surprising to a lot of people right now, because what this means is this is the probabilities from the Fed watch as far as rate cuts when it comes to FOMC here in the next couple of weeks. And we went from 0% chance for a 50 basis point rate cut to a 14% chance now. We went from a 70%, 25% basis point cut to 90% to basically 100% now. So rate cuts are coming. They are. Now the question is this: is it going to be 25 or 50 basis points? And how does that impact you in the market? Well, it actually impacts you quite a bit. And I can break that down for you, because what you're going to hear from a lot of people is that 50 basis point rate cut. Let's go. So bullish. And all I have to say is that careful what you wish for, because that could create a lot of volatility in the market, and not necessarily in a good way. And so when it comes to markets don't like uncertainty, okay? And so what does it mean when the Fed not only cuts 25 basis points, but if for any reason they go and they cut 50 basis points? What that says is that potentially the economy is worse than expected. And what does that tell traders who actually understand the market? It says that there's a lot of instability and that things could actually be worse than expected, okay, with inflation. So when it comes to the basis points, this 14% is actually kind of a big deal. And so I'm not for sure if you understand the term soft landing, hard landing. And so when it comes to this 14% chance, I keep saying opportunity, this 14% chance of a 50 basis point cut being the probability, that would almost signal a hard landing. And so when it comes to these terms, hard landing, it basically means that the economy is not in a great place. And really, there's potential for a recession, okay? Just bottom line, there's a potential for a recession, and that's not necessarily a good thing when it comes to the markets, okay? That could create or force aggressive rate cuts, and that in the end could honestly spook the markets that things aren't great, okay? Because, again, recession, inflation's high, not a good thing. Now, what you want is you want this one right here, the one that's likely to happen, the 25 basis point cut. Because what that really shows is that, yeah, I mean, market's not in a great place. The economy's not in a great place right now, but we can cut slowly. We can continue to try to ease inflation. We can have this type of soft landing to avoid a recession. And that's what I think you want to see here in the next couple of weeks. It's not this 50 basis points. So if you go on Twitter right now or X or YouTube and you're seeing people just lose their mind about a 50 basis point rate cut, that it's just like going to shoot the markets up to all-time highs all of a sudden, they're crazy, because you have to take into consideration what's going on, okay, underneath the hood. Okay, so I think that hopefully helps you guys. So soft landing is what you want, no recession, slightly easing the inflation, slightly, rate cuts going down slowly. So maybe let's have 25 basis points this month, another 25 basis points after that, multiple rate cuts slowly but surely, but nothing really big and fast and heavy. Because again, I believe that what's going to happen, if that does happen, you're going to see the markets pull back quite a bit. Now, don't forget, by the way, next week's a big week. This week has been a huge week, but inflation data comes out, okay? So we really have to wait to see what that says as far as inflation data, CPI, PPI. If that is high, again, knowing that rate cuts are coming, but if it's high, that may end up actually bumping this number up even more, which I don't think is necessarily a good thing. Now, in the end, you want inflation to go down. So we want to hope that CPI and PPI are low, because I think that that's going to lead more into a 25 basis point cut. So I think you're hoping for lower inflation. You're not hoping for high inflation, and you're hoping for 25 basis points. So hopefully that makes sense. If anything, you have to prepare because there's volatility ahead, and I don't want you to get chopped up. And so I've said this on multiple streams, is that the place that we marked the last few days, okay? Look at this. Look at this line right here. I said it has to close above this. I drew this line prior to today, where I drew it when it was down here before it came up and hit it and dropped. And so for me, again, I said, look, 113,400, it's got to break that. If it doesn't break it, I'm not buying. And I'm glad I didn't buy or long, because if you did, you're down right now. Now, you're not down a lot, but you're down from 113 and it dropped down to 110. If you are long, if you are a trader and you're longing that, you're trying to long a breakout here of this prior range, then you just lost money. So I got liquidated if you're high leverage. But point being is that the market, it still hasn't proven itself. But the good news is here on the 4-hour chart, this is the 1-hour chart, excuse me, we're still trending up, okay? So 1-hour chart, lower time frames, we're slowly trending up. But what I want to see is this slowly get back up here, okay? Break above. And so if it can do that, that's going to be a change likely in the trend, at least like on the 4-hour chart, okay? But so far, this candle is kind of ugly right here, this 4-hour candle, but it's still in an uptrend, okay? Yeah, so a lot of, just feel free to leave some comments in the chat. And so, what am I doing right now? I've made that clear. I would rather buy slightly higher than to buy early and miss out. Put a lot of, now it's one thing if you're putting in 5 to 10% of your portfolio or your cash in that you have on the side. So you have cash on the side, that can be $1,000. That can be 10,000. That could be 100,000. Okay. If you have cash on the side, it doesn't matter what your portfolio is, because in the end, you're trying to make the most money. Oh, froze again. My goodness. I don't know why I keep doing that. But so the whole point is that, here we go. All right. The whole point is, regardless of how much cash you have, you want to try to, maybe buy the dip and put in the least amount as possible, unless it's the bottom. That's what I do. And so what I'm doing is like, am I gonna maybe buy 5-10%, in this area potentially, maybe, but I'm definitely, if I have cash on the side, I'm not going heavy right here. I would rather the market prove itself and to break above 113 and to hold that area as we continue to move up to 116, 117. If the market can't do it, I'm not really interested in buying right here. And I haven't bought, I've got a little bit of spot that I bought for Bitcoin and some spot positions. But other than that I got lower, I'm not really buying heavy right now because I understand that there's a lot of volatility coming in the next week. Now we're going into a weekend, which means that don't really trade it. You trade it today, but don't trust the market on Saturday. Tomorrow, you're going to see volatility potentially. You can't trust it. Whether it's up or down, you can't trust it because it's a Saturday. Sunday open in the evening time, that's when you can get back into the market again. And that's when the futures for stock markets open, and then you can see what they're doing based on that. But again, as you go into Friday, it's fine, but I want to see the market break here, okay? So, yeah, somebody said 105K by this week, and that's definitely potential. And I've already said, if you're zooming out, right, here is the 200 daily moving average, and this is a great opportunity to buy between 105 down to 103. If you're looking for like the levels to potentially break below, again, the lowest I think we can hit is down here to 95. I don't want to predict this because, again, if for some reason inflation is fine this coming week and FOMC goes great, this could be the bottom. But I don't want to buy too early. Again, I want the market to prove itself. So I'm not trying. I would rather wait. Now, I'm not saying to buy way up here, up to 120, but I'm just saying see if at least the market can break 113. In the end, regardless of how much you have money, putting in a little bit at a time or dollar cost averaging on dips is the way to go. So, all right. So, yeah, I think, you guys are kind of agreeing with that and talking about how, buying opportunity below. I agree. I think bottom line, put those limit bids down here in these levels. And that's what I would tend to do, okay? But the whole reason I'm making this video is because of this and the kind of the shocking 14% probability now of a 50 basis point cut is a big deal. It changes markets. It really does. And if it were to happen, this were to go up, it's going to shake the market a little bit. And I think that type of behavior fundamentally is what would potentially send the market not down that low, but would send the market, a lot lower, down here to, 100 to 98 to 95. Okay. That type of thing. So we have to wait and see, but it's going to be volatile. So for me personally, unless you're catching a dip down to those levels, I'm not going to be, trading on leverage and maybe 2-3x. You're not going to get liquidated, but putting in bids between 105 to 103. And I think you guys know that by now. Got to break 113 and then 116, 117. If it breaks that, then we're good to go. But there's not really anything else to say right now besides this is a big deal and understanding that if the Fed does cut 50 basis points, it's not going to necessarily be a good thing. So either two things happen. You have a recession or you're having some crazy money printing, or maybe a possibility of both. Money printing is good for risk assets, but it does not last long. And if they do print money and it goes crazy, again, look for sometime in 2026 for a top to happen. Some people are predicting a top to happen now. I think that's silly. There's been no signs of a top whatsoever. Pullback, yes. Top, no. Absolutely not. Okay? So, all right, guys. So other than that, Some other stuff with that. Look at the stock market. The stock market also hit new highs and then just dumped rapidly. A big reason for that, as you guys know, the job data came out today. It added some jobs. The unemployment has been its high since 2021, 4.3, but it was expected to be 4.3. Okay. But the thing to know is that stagflation is here, which again is not a good thing. So higher prices, higher inflation, lower jobs, not a great thing, by the way. So just understand that. And when it comes down to it, the jobs report was revised. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that the U.S. just revised the jobs report and lowered it for a second time in a row. Okay? So now the U.S. has officially lost 13,000 jobs in June, and it's the first negative month since 2021. Again, it's not a good thing, right? The Fed already said lower jobs means that we're going to end up cutting rates more likely. Okay? So understand that happened, and this is also, potentially a reason why that this shook the market. They revised the numbers, so you saw initially this pump and then it dump after that, and that same thing with Bitcoin. Again, guys, remember I said on yesterday's video that there is zero correlation between the stock market and Bitcoin right now. Zero correlation, meaning that the stock market can pump, okay? But the problem is that the stock market dumps, Bitcoin still dumps, okay? Sorry, that's the reality of things. Look at that. Stock market pumped, dumped, Bitcoin did the same. It dumped with it, but it didn't necessarily pump with it, okay? And they will definitely cut rates this month. Just understand that. So in the comments, seeing comments about that, they'll definitely cut rates. But the thing is that there's some uncertainty now. They increased the amount of jobs lost. They revised that, and more stats are coming out that unemployment's bad. So as far as the United States, and I know not everybody here lives in the U.S., but the U.S. greatly impacts the world global markets. Over 10% of people aged 16 to 24 are unemployed. And so this is pretty big. This is back up to pandemic type of numbers when it comes to unemployment level. So a lot of people can't find jobs, and they can only find part-time jobs. All right? So understand that's what's going on. Yeah. I mean, some people think that in the comments, bear market's coming soon. I don't necessarily think that, but I do believe if they do cut rates 50 basis points, you don't want rate cuts 50%. 50 basis points is going to create some problems because, again, stagflation. And just understand, just because, the economy is bad, I mean, if they start printing money, that's going to probably stimulate the stock market and risk on assets. So it's not really a good thing in general. It's just not a good thing. Stagflation, inflation, loss of jobs. One of the only good things that it's good for are people who trade and people who buy investments and people who are in risk on assets. And that's a good thing, but it's not good for a while. We could see a pretty big pullback when it comes to all markets here in the next year. Okay? So just understand that. All right, so that's what's going on. Initial pump, we got a pullback, and we're just chopping now. So I think what's going on is that we're seeing a lot of uncertainty in the market, and so you're going to see a lot of chop up now until the inflation data next week. So we'll talk more about that next week. As far as the rest of your crypto assets, again, Solana has been holding pretty well. It took a big dump with Bitcoin. So we hit, 209, it came back down. As long as it holds 198, 196, keeping this uptrend right here, I think that's the key. So let's keep this uptrend with Solana. Again, digital asset treasuries with the DATs are still pretty good when it comes to Solana. So it's a good buy in an uptrend market. And it is a stronger asset when it comes to crypto. I did also talk about the drama yesterday with World Liberty Finance. And I said, look, if I were to zoom out, It's kind of staying. You don't want to, as I said, you don't want to buy up here, but it's better to buy down here. World Liberty Finance, I mean, you just have to kind of believe that this will eventually pump hard. But on the hour chart, it seems to be holding around 18. Okay, so 0.18, it's holding that right now. Can it continue to hold? You know, I don't want to see it hit new lows or anything like that. But again, the target that you're going for is going to be probably like 21, 22 when it comes to that. But right now, we're seeing a lot of drama unfold. Justin Sun, of course, they locked up his tokens. So, you know, are they going to unlock his tokens? We'll wait to see. He's calling on the team of World Liberty Finance to unlock his tokens and to work together. And so I think what you could see here is maybe a potential inside deal, you know, talking about that he's going to maybe stop selling or not selling more token. They'll figure it out. And then once, I think if they do figure it out, what's going to happen is they'll announce it, and then you'll see this uptrend. And it's likely that you're going to see it uptrend prior to that. So if they can figure something out together, I do think World Liberty Finance could be a good buy, potentially. We just got to wait and see. Again, I want to wait and see if it holds this level of 18. But just understand that if they do work this out, this is going to be potentially a good asset just because, you know, the Trump family, and they tend to pump stuff. I don't hold I don't hold it yet. People are asking, do I hold World Liberty Financial? No, I don't, not yet. I mean, I would trade it for sure. But I don't like to trade anything going into the weekend anyway, because it's so volatile and so illiquid. And a lot of times, too, these guys aren't going to figure it out over the weekend. They're just not. I mean, right now, it's nighttime in China, if that's where Justin Sun is at. I mean, so I don't necessarily think this may not get fixed until early next week. But if they can fix it, I do believe that if that was truly the reason for the downtrend here, and it just not being overvalued as is, which a lot of speculation with that, billions and billions FDV. But with that said, if that was the true reason, we're probably going to see it uptrend back up here into this up over 21. So, all right, Hype is honestly fantastic. They seem to continue to build more and more Hyperliquid. So I'm pretty bullish on Hyperliquid. The only problem is that it's in this long-term trend between, you know, $50 and 40. So between 40 and 50, do I expect this to break out? Not necessarily yet with all the uncertainty, but I do believe that once it does break out, right? This is the daily chart. So you want to be in before it probably breaks out on the daily. So look at more like the 4-hour charts. But uptrend here, right? Uptrend, uptrend, uptrend. So possibility for this to hit higher and then pull back. But it's just going sideways, but it's not dumping hard. So, I mean, you have this uptrend, right? Slowly but surely. So I like to see that overall. It's not dumping hard with the market. And so this is a good asset. Again, what's strong? Hyperliquid is strong right now. Hype is strong. So I believe that, I don't like to draw the I hate triangles. I think they're stupid, but you know, you can trade them. Compression. Overall, I do like this going up. I think it's a stronger asset. And so look for this to be very strong when the market uptrends again. Again, we're in chop season right now because there's so much uncertainty. All right. Now, Bitcoin price predictions. Again, you know, a lot of people are asking that as far as my high. I think you're going to hear a lot of different things. And, you know, I always go back to the same model that I've showed you guys multiple times if you've watched. I do like this model. I think that it's, you know, overall, it's pretty fair because what you see here is it takes into account price extremes. And so which a lot of other models don't catch. Okay. And so you've got a lot of models that actually did not catch the second double top in 2021. Okay. Here when price hit 69,000. So a lot of models did not catch that, but this model did catch it. So anything, if you can see this, anything in the upper pink band, Okay, the second to the top line there underneath the bluish green band, the top, the 95% tends to mark a market high. And so if you were, it does a really good job at catching these. So we'll wait to see, right? Sample size is low, but I would like to talk to these guys who created this maybe a little bit more. But when it comes down to it, it does catch price extremes better than a lot of other models. And so there's also the pi cycle top indicator, which did not catch the second top last time. So again, I like using that. But this points to around 220,000. I think also too that $200,000 is going to be a huge psychological barrier to get through as far as profit taking. If I'm holding Bitcoin long term, and I'm a whale who's been holding for a very long time, I see that 200,000 and it makes me want to sell. So I think that could be a tough one to get over. So I'm anywhere between 180, 190-ish, okay, kind of close to 200,000 to a top to 220. But if I'm trading, I'm probably going to definitely get out. For any reason it breaks 200,000, I'm selling by 220. Could it go higher? I guess. But again, this is all speculation, guys. We can sit here and talk about prices all day, and we can use these, and I think it's super bullish, but we're not really in that season yet. I think once we find out more information about FOMC and the rate cuts, and to see if we truly are in some type of recession, all that, and then to see how the stock market reacts as well too, I think once we hit brand new all-time highs for Bitcoin, we can kind of come back to this and talk about where is this going to top at. And so personally for me, I think that when it does hit a top, it's going to be quick and hard like you've seen historically, right? So a lot of times for Bitcoin, you see a lot of those blow off the tops, a lot of those highs, comes kind of fast. That's kind of recently, but historically too, right? I mean, it's pumping up there and hitting pretty high, pretty fast. So, when it comes to that, and then, right, you see a pretty quick correction within a week after that too. So depending on that, you just have to be aware that, especially in 2017 for you guys who were there, pretty cool time. It hit, of course, pulled back quite a bit, and within days it just nuked and it was over. So I just think you have to be aware that when it happens fast. So it's hard to predict right now because I don't think we're in that time to be talking about, highs, but I definitely love talking about it. It's a lot of fun to speculate. That's what people like to hear anyway. So if that gets viewers and watchers for me to tell you that I think it's going to 220, then we'll talk about it, I guess, right? So, all right, time frame. So timing is so hard when it comes to the top for Bitcoin because there's so many variables, right? And so, we've seen more and more that these cycles are lasting longer with crypto and the markets in general. And a lot of people are like, the cycles are done, which is somewhat true because really what you want to see is you want to see more liquidity in the market, right? That's when you see the M2, the money flow and all that with more global liquidity. And so as those continue to go up and global liquidity goes up and you're going to continue to see risk on assets go up. So, we want to watch that. We want to just take in consideration that the cycles are getting longer. They're not necessarily getting shorter. And so, we've come a long way. And so, when it comes to the cycles, I think, yeah, potentially there is longer. But if you were to keep the typical cycle, it would have basically hit an all-time high in late 2025. Right, where we're at now. And I don't think that that's going to quite happen. I keep saying Q1 of 2026, but again, it's so hard to see based on timing. I think the important thing when it comes to a time frame is I think that you're going to see a lot of froth in the market, a lot of euphoria, a lot of just super bullish media from funds, from BlackRock, from everybody. You're going to see that in the market. You're going to see treasuries just go nuts. You're just going to see a ton of just euphoric gambling, the stuff that you see every time. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of signs when it comes to that. And I think we're going to hit another big euphoric top. So whether that's 220 or 180, it's hard to say. I think I think from here, you have to understand that the reason you buy Bitcoin, you trade Bitcoin, you go long Bitcoin. If it hits 105, 103, 95, 98, you long it, okay? But you buy it as a store of value. You buy it because you believe that the dollar continues to weaken. And so that's what I have to say to you, is that the reason you buy Bitcoin is not just to sell it, all right? So, I mean, I think it's fine to take your money out of it. But for me, if I'm buying Bitcoin and I'm just trading it, I mean, it's only a 2x from here. I would rather try to buy assets that are going to 5, 10x or more, okay? So for Bitcoin, for me, I buy it because it's a store of value. I think 5, 10 years from now, it's going to be very important to have. Trading it long, go long, 105, 103. That's where you can trade it, borrow money, you know, with the market, and then with leverage trading, margin, whatever. And so, all right. Yeah. So somebody's asking, I'll go ahead and show you guys this stuff really fast. If you don't know, you can actually go to, I'll go to this chart. So Pearson correlation. So you can go, like, the block has a pretty good chart of this. And so what this says is, this says that this is the correlation between Bitcoin, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and gold. And so, again, if you look to the very left, 1 means a correlation 1-to-1. Every time, every percent that the NASDAQ or SPX moves up, Bitcoin moves the same. 0 means that there's just no correlation, and negative means that if Bitcoin goes up, the stock market goes down. Stock market goes up, Bitcoin goes down. And we're not there. We're not at that negative correlation, okay? We're more in this middle range around 0, meaning that there's not a correlation right now. So like I said, why, if anything, if this moves up, is because when the stock market does push up, Bitcoin hasn't been pumping, okay? Stock market has been pumping, and Bitcoin has just been kind of just staying down. But when the stock market dumps, Bitcoin dumps with it. So that's the correlation we're at right now, unfortunately. So people tend to sell Bitcoin still when the stock market sells off. Now, it doesn't mean that we'll always be there, but there's not a negative correlation yet, okay? It's more of a 0 correlation. So again, each asset can do their own thing, and the other asset's not going to follow it. It may or it may not. So that's kind of where we're at right now with the correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market. So, but yeah, a lot of good questions. I think as far as that goes. So yeah, somebody asked me to look at the Bonk chart. So Bonk, you know, they have a partnership with World Liberty Finance. Their launch pad is down quite a bit right now. And what you're seeing, this is a 4-hour chart, right? I got the moving averages. Why do I use moving averages? Because again, they're lagging indicators, but they're really good at really showing you the trends. And so a lot of trading that you can do that's quite simple, but it's very effective, right? Or horizontals. So trading support resistance lines. You know, you can do volume profile to try to look at that as well too. You can do you know, moving averages based on that, how they tend to trade, Fibonacci. But you know, as far as Bonk goes, it's in a downtrend. So clear downtrend. Not going to buy it right now. You don't want to buy bleed this. So this is, I'm not bearish on Bonk. I think Bonk could hit new highs. I was pretty bullish on it as they were just kicking butt with their launchpad stuff. But you're not going to buy a bleeding asset. This is bleeding out. This is slowly going down, lower highs and lower lows. So this is not a buy, okay? So when you see an asset doing this, slowly going lower, right? You don't want to buy it. That's my personal opinion right now. This could change at any time. Now, they had an initial spike when they talked about, I think it was here when they talked about the World Liberty Finance partnership, and then it's just bled out more, okay? So also understanding that if World Liberty Finance starts to pump hard, this could go up too. So there is a bit of some meta there when it comes to a correlation with World Liberty Finance, because they have a partnership, meaning that if they pump, that bump could look good from that. And so expect to see if they can actually correct their chart, as I talked about earlier, bump could then slowly start to move up. Okay? So that's what you want to see. You don't really want to buy this right now. Like if you're trying to buy assets, you're wanting to buy stuff that shows strength. So look at this chart, right? This is the daily chart. All right, daily chart. I'm just showing you guys this clear downtrend, right? Okay, well, let's go over here to hype. Oh, this is the 4-hour chart. Here's the daily chart. What are you seeing here? Does this look like this? No. This looks like it's compressing. So compressing again, triangles tend to be meme-ish, okay? A lot of people post them, but really what this is this is just ranging slowly. And what's going to probably end up happening here is you're going to see this eventually break out, okay? Because with Hyperliquid, there's a lot of bullishness behind it because they make so much money, they can buy back their token, and they continue just to do more and more. So I'm just saying that overall, if you're looking at different assets to trade and buy, you're looking at something like Hyperliquid that has an uptrend compared to Bonk, which has a downtrend. So now, does it mean that Bonk can't be a great opportunity? Because it's in a downtrend, and eventually this is going to reverse, okay? So if I go to the weekly, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 out of the last 6 weeks, it's been down. Eventually, this is going to have a reversal. And also, too, on the weekly, if you zoom out, check this out, right? So on a longer, higher time frame, which is going to take a longer weeks to months to play out, it is having an uptrend, which is good. But if you zoom in, right now, you're not going to necessarily want to buy this because right now it's in a downtrend, if that makes sense, guys. So again, when it comes to assets, try to buy strength because those are going to perform the best when it comes to an uptrend market again. And so as you're looking at these assets, Bonk, Hyperliquid, Solana, any of these, you want to buy those that are strong, okay? So any other questions with the market right now? It's been about 37 minutes. You know, I did say that one narrative, if you're an on-chain trader, again, this is not on like major exchanges yet. Again, I showed this yesterday. I think it was like at 70 or 80 million market cap and it hit 112 today. This is cards. Again, I don't even have any of this. So, you know, unlike a lot of people, I'll actually talk about stuff that I don't hold. And if I hold something, I'll let you know. But I do hold cards. I mean, I don't hold cards, excuse me. I do hold some other card collector type of assets, but this is not one of them. This is the biggest and strongest. But again, this is a pretty cool overall narrative that I'm just encouraging people to research because the card collector, the Pokemon, this is $1 billion industry. And if you can perhaps get people to use a product, okay, where basically you go and you can rip open cards, okay, and then you can actually basically get the card instead of getting it physically, you basically hold it digitally until you know, unless you want it physically. And then if you rip it open and you get a card that you want to keep, then you can redeem it, right? So again, this is pretty cool. These aren't just NFTs that are online, is what I'm trying to say. This is actual, like, you have these guys buying up assets and cards that have appreciated a lot over the years, and they hold the physical, and then you can end up redeeming it, okay? They're authentic, they're scanned, buy, sell, and transfer cards securely, whatever. So in the end, it's kind of a cool idea. Again, it's very new. This could certainly go down, but I think things like this, where everybody, whether you're a kid or you're an adult, or whether you're in North America or Asia or Europe, people love doing this, and so it could be quite successful. As far as evaluation of the token, I mean, I can't really say if it's undervalued or overvalued, but just knowing that there's a lot of stuff out there that people aren't doing and using and like and collecting, that's a lot higher valuation. So in the end, this is just one to watch, is what I've told people. Okay. So, yeah, I think that, as far as full on altcoin season, I tell you what, altcoin season is going to happen eventually, but you're going to have the market turn around. And I believe that an altcoin season is going to happen once Bitcoin breaks highs again. Okay. So can Bitcoin break highs again? And not only that, right? Like Bitcoin's going to lead as it goes up. Bitcoin dominance may even go up too. But you're going to see altcoins follow. But eventually, what tends to happen, as always, is Bitcoin ends up breaking highs, goes higher, peaks, and then you see Ethereum follow and you see altcoins follow a lot of times. And so you saw this a lot, when it comes to the past. Historically, we had like Ethereum and everything went off in this area after Bitcoin hit highs in 2021. Altcoins in general, there's going to be outliers. So if you're asking me, like back in 2021, from like September to like November, October, you had a lot of things going off, like with NFTs. Okay. So some things outperformed others. And so just understand that I think in general, when it comes to altcoins, if Bitcoin breaks down, if we see it break down in the market and it's actually one that ends up bouncing, but if we see a breakdown in the market, 105, 103, 98K, whatever, let's not speculate yet. But if we see a breakdown in the market, I think most altcoins, especially those strong ones like I talked about earlier, like Solana and Hyperliquid, they're on the table to buy then. Don't wait for an altcoin season. But those are on the table, and those are going to probably outperform. But I think like when things get silly again, you need to see a bottom in Bitcoin, and you need to see an uptrend start to happen. And it's likely you're going to need to see Bitcoin break 116, 117 and get to new highs, and then, and then altcoins follow. But we'll see. But it's not the time yet, right? It's not the time. We're not there. Did I open any trade with Bitcoin today? I didn't. Why did I not open any trades with Bitcoin yet? Because I don't do scalps all the time. Sometimes I will. But why I didn't is because the job data is so shaky right now, and there's so much uncertainty, and with the potential for the 50 basis point cut, that can be somewhat bearish, but people think it's bullish. So there's a lot of like uncertainty and volatility in the market. And I don't like to like go into weekends trading either, because weekends are super illiquid. And, but I tend to trade on-chain trade a lot. So I'll buy different assets. Somebody's asking me which card, I bought, this is super low, guys. This is super low market cap. So like, it's high risk. I don't even like, I talked about this in my Telegram. I bought some of this. It's called TCG Collectors, and they're doing the gacha, they're trying to do prize pools with cards. So in the end, like it's high risk. You can win Pokemon cards, and they're continuing to build on this. It's only 1.7 market cap, and it's holding right here. So for me, it's like, okay, this is holding here. This is potentially a decent buy. TCG. See, somebody just sold right now. It doesn't really matter. So it's stuff like this I'll on-chain trade in these types of times. But as far as Bitcoin goes, I'm just waiting for it to show strength. And so I have limit bids down at 105 to 103. And for any reason it breaks below that, I'll have limit bids down to 98 to 95. That's kind of where I'm watching. Okay, so it's kind of slowly but surely, we're kind of in this slow kind of trend range chop sideways, and you'll get chopped up. So that's why. Yeah, guys. Yeah, I'm glad that you're learning some. I've been trading and investing for a long time in crypto and Bitcoin. I'm gonna end the live stream soon, but I'm gonna go to my I even posted this yesterday. It's kind of funny. This is me in 2018, right here. And so I was actually talking on YouTube and talking about buying, Bitcoin was at, 3,600. And I was talking about buying a balance at 32 to 3,000 all the way down to 20. I think my bottom was like 2,800. And so we did get a bounce at like 32. It bounced up, came back down, bounced again. But I've been doing this for a long time. And yes, I did have limit bids at 3,200. And I did buy Bitcoin at 3,200 back in 2018-19. And so I was able to flip some of that at 60,000 in 2021. And not the top, like 69,000 was the top, but I believe it was like 60 to 61,000. I was like, man, this is like too good. I'm up 20x. So I've been doing this for a while. And, a lot of this just can be experienced. You don't have to be, you can be really successful. And a lot of success in trading comes from just understanding markets, just understanding sentiment, understanding where you're at in the market cycle, understanding narratives, understanding taking profits. There's a lot that you can learn, and you don't have to be some like guru pro trader who has $100, $200, $500,000 trades, position sizes. You don't $1 million position size. You don't need to do that. So you can definitely still make good money in this market, even though Bitcoin's no longer $3,000. You can still make 3 to 5x on trades here in the next 6 months. Okay. So, yeah. So anyway, 2018 was a long time ago. I was in it. I was in Bitcoin before, back 2016, 17 in crypto. And that's kind of my story. So I bought in then. I bought Verge. If you guys remember, the privacy coin was one of the first altcoins I bought. I bought XRP, which is kind of funny, and Bitcoin and Ethereum. And those are the coins that I bought. And what happened though is I didn't have a massive success story in 2017. I made money, but I ended up round tripping a lot of stuff. Like I held my Bitcoin because I was one of those people who was like, oh, Bitcoin's going to $100,000. This is back in 2017. And if you can remember, Bitcoin did not go to $100,000. Bitcoin actually went to 20,000, and it quickly bled out. And not quickly, but within 2 months, right? It went down to $6,000. So, I held a lot of that back down here. And then I was like, well, if I held it up to 20K down to 6K, I'm just going to keep holding. And that's what I did. So I just kept holding it. We dipped down to, this is where I made that video. Okay. And then I held and I bought more down here at like 3,200. And then I was able to sell some. So that's it. And I bought Ethereum at $100. I mean, so I've been around for a while. And so you can definitely be successful in this market, regardless if Bitcoin is no longer 3,000. It's a store of value. I'm going to make more videos about Bitcoin and the bullishness of it soon, but just understand that it's a big deal. And I think that everybody should hold Bitcoin. And because I think it's going to continue to outperform the dollar over the next decade. Okay, so all right, that's it for me. I think. Sorry guys, my visual camera, it continues to freeze during live stream, so I think it has something to do with my settings. It's just too much. So unfortunately, I couldn't continue to be on screen. So this has been around 48 minutes. This has been a long time. Now I'm going to send out some Bitcoin to the Bitcoin winners from yesterday's live stream. I'm going to continue to make more videos each and every week. Okay. So understand that if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe. I would love for you to like. And if anything, I'd love for you to share, because one of the biggest things with growing on YouTube is when people share it. So if you share with other people and they say, this is some good content. Now, naturally, this is 50 minutes long. It's a long one, but I will have short videos that are only 10 to 15 minutes that people can watch and listen to. So would love for you to share it. And then I'll keep commenting, because eventually I'll have more Bitcoin giveaways with the comments, people who comment, and then we'll keep rolling. So this weekend, just know that it's going to be illiquid. It's going to chop a lot. Bitcoin was unable to break 113. I'm not expecting for it to do anything crazy, because again, stock market's choppy, and we just really have a lot of questions when it comes to this Fed rate cut and the inflation. So we got to wait and see next week what the inflation says. We got to wait and see. I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. Oh, so we dropped from 14% to around 10% in the past hour. Okay, so a lot of people are trading this right now based on what they think will happen, and this is actually probably a good thing. You want this 50 basis point to go down. So likely not going to happen. That's a good thing, but if it were to happen, it wouldn't be good for the market. What I think will happen is we'll get 25 basis point cut in a couple weeks. The market may initially dip, and then I think we'll have a pretty good Q4. But we'll keep talking. We'll talk next week for the CPI, PPI, and keep rolling from there, and I'll make more videos. Okay, guys? Thanks again for joining. You guys, I appreciate you so much. So I'll see you on the next one. I'll see you on the next live stream. You guys continue to have a great rest of your day. Trade safe, and I will see you on